Hello, everybody. Welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by former Georgia Bulldogs head coach Coach Donnan. We also have Dayne Young moving everybody around on the screen and putting your questions onto the front page of this video. If you would like to get your questions answered, drop them in the comment section there, and we will get to them as quick as we can. But we need to talk to Coach Donnan. We missed him last week. We had Jed May on to talk about the transfer portal. The transfer portal is going hot and heavy right now. Georgia just picked up another commitment from Gentry Williams, the Oklahoma defensive back who could play safety, slot corner, cornerback. Big news yesterday from the running back world, and that they picked up Dante Dowdell, the Kentucky running back, who's had stops at a couple places, and been very good stops for him. And you got Chauncey Bowens and Nate Frazier officially back yesterday, although we told people they were coming back on Saturday. Just a lot going on with the roster for the Georgia Bulldogs. And, Coach, kind of want to get your overall thoughts. We didn't get to hear from you last week, so what's been on your mind? Dealer's choice. Take us where you will. Let us know what you're thinking about.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is retention. I really feel good about the fact that, last year we lost several guys that probably could have helped us this year. And at this point, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to bag on anybody, but I do feel like we've been able to, for the most part, to keep our team intact and get some really good guys to commit to coming back. Like Puglitsky and obviously when you get Frazier and Bowens having all these other teams trying to talk them into going, then it really makes it harder. But the fact that they're still here is great. And this Gentry Williams kid that we just picked up, I got some really good info from him from the people I know at Oklahoma. He has a history of injuries, but that's really kind of kept him off being a really outstanding player. And hopefully those are behind him. And I know that Kirby wouldn't have made this move unless they thought he could have everything intact. And we've also added, as you mentioned, several good receivers and also an outstanding back there, big back. From Freeling's standpoint, I think you look at the numbers, he's right on the cusp of one or two first or second round. He's definitely going to be a good pro player with his feet and his strength, and you want the best for him. And fortunately for us, the fact that he's going will probably keep a couple guys that might have left if he would have stayed. By that I mean same thing that happened to us last year. We lost some guys that left because guys decided to come back. So it's kind of a back and forth situation that every school is undergoing. I noticed Ohio State said 30 in the portal. Unreal. You look at their team, going to be completely reshaped next year. That's if the coach is still there. There's a lot of rumors that he might be going pro, but there's rumors everywhere. So that's why you have your show, Rumors and Facts, or whatever you call it. But I don't know many rumors right now, except I do feel good about the retention that we've had. And I feel good about the fact that so many of these freshmen are here that are going to be on our squad for next year, and particularly some that were here for practice. And a couple of them already making my mouth water. I always try to give you some of those, but I'm going to make people wait to the end of the show before I tell you who they are, because I don't want to give you everything the first 5 minutes.
The biggest bump we saw in day-to-day signups, and right now you can sign up for UGASports.com for 50% off. They're doing that while the transfer portal's open. So wherever you are getting your Georgia news, you can transfer a portal to UGA Sports for 50% off. A smooth little plug there. But the biggest day of signups we saw was when all the speculation about Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens was going wall to wall. And I know people don't see those guys as big gets in the transfer portal. You didn't go out and add those two to your team, but I think you nailed it when you said, Coach, retaining these guys is a big win. Retaining Ryan Puglisi is a big win. Some of your wide receivers your offensive linemen, your inside linebacker. I'm sure teams want Justin Williams and Chris Cole and guys like that. I'm sure there's been some fantastic offers out there. hey, if you go in the portal, and it's not. And my point is, it's not sexy when you talk about the guys you retained versus the guys you went out and got. But keeping those players and spending your money on keeping them, that pays off. We saw it this year.
Yeah, I think the reality is sometimes a guy that and we used to talk about this in recruiting when everybody want to talk about the new guys more than the ones you had coming back when you talked about the roster, but just because of the newness of it. But I just feel like to have an established running game, you need backs that know how to block in the system and know how to catch the ball out of the backfield and have been to war uh, under your team. And I think we would really been starting from scratch if we'd lost those guys. And
Okay.
of course, I think keeping Peanut's good too because I still feel like he's got some tremendous upside. So Rod Robinson is probably best for him and getting to go with a new program. But we still got Bo, and we picked up this freshman coming in that's supposed to be pretty good too. But you can't have enough backs, and you can't have enough of anything. Of course, linebacker types helps you on special teams, and we still got the Friday night. I mean, you got to get through the next couple of days because down the stretch here, some people get desperate and start making some unbelievable offers. I mean, if you'd have told me 5 years ago that a quarterback's getting $5 million to play quarterback in college, I mean, come on.
Coach, what are you suspecting coaches around the country are doing to refine how they anticipate transfers may work out, essentially recruiting transfers? Because at Georgia, they had a lot that did great. Zachariah Branch had a career season for Georgia. You have a couple guys that are right back in the portal after being at Georgia for a year. Adrian Maddox, Elo Mendozi. That happens everywhere. As coaches, what do you think Georgia, but really everyone around the country, what are they doing to refine their process of bringing in transfers?
Well, it's all new. I mean, it's only been going for a couple years. So I think the one thing is to make sure you have a pretty good beat on them as far as playing against them or having tape on them or some friends that coached in that area or something like that. But also the injury factor. You don't want a guy coming in here that's with something wrong with him as soon as he gets here. And I know Kirby's working hard along with Ron Corson and some other people around the country to get a centralized medical thing that everybody's medical. Of course, you'd have the HIPPO involved and you have to release these, but you need that. I mean, all of a sudden you bring a kid in, you think he's pretty good, and you start talking to him. Well, what's your history here with your leg? And you say, well, I've had a little problem with it. And then you find out that the guy's had a situation where he might be up for surgery. And, it's just, and we've had that happen here where freshmen come in sometime and all of a sudden you don't even know that he's got a background of something that nobody knew about. And that's just not fair. It really isn't for, not to divulge that injury before you get there. So I think the injury part, the talent part, the character part too, you don't want a bum coming in here that doesn't fit your culture. So, but, as you mentioned, we kind of whiffed on the safeties last year, and that happens sometime. But at the same time, we've done really well with some of these transfers too.
Yeah, the wide receivers were big. I kind of want to ask you about some of those wide receivers. I mean, some of those transfers. I'll get to Isaiah Canyon and Amaris Williams here in a bit, but I thought it was interesting that the number one driving story in all the transfer portal stuff is not a big left tackle like that kid from Colorado who's already been – the bar for him is already $2.5 million. But you mentioned $5 million quarterbacks. You heard the rumors about Ty Simpson being offered $6.5 million to not go pro. Crazy numbers. Georgia is not looking – I've not heard Georgia linked to any portal quarterbacks, but they did look last year with the same three guys that Georgia had on scholarship. This year, I just haven't really seen anything. I haven't your thoughts on Georgia not going after a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, it's a paradox. If all of a sudden you bring in a transfer quarterback that's got big numbers, you're probably looking at losing two of them that you got.
Good point.
But I think you got to look at it what's best for your team first, and then you look at what are you going to lose in the process and what are you going to gain. And from my standpoint, I really feel like, and we said on the show before last, that I am sold on Ryan Puglisi. I just really think that Pugh's going to be really big time once he gets his chance, and maybe depending on what happens with Gunner as far as continue to develop, or if he would, hopefully nothing happens to him. But I feel good about him and his potential, and I feel like I'm not the only one. Certainly, based on what Kirby and Bobo have done, they haven't made a move that way. So, but your roster is your roster. I mean, you look at around the country and you look at who's winning, and more teams are winning with transfers and people like that than they are established ones. But those aren't really ones that have the established, really good players that we do. So I think we're above the norm on that. I think we just got to keep augmenting our team with the right kind of transfers and keep them healthy and keep developing them.
Speaking of augmenting your roster, Georgia landed Isaiah Canyon, the Georgia Tech wide receiver, big kid. The number of receptions he had, the number of yards he had, if those numbers had been transferred to Georgia this year, he would have been the second leading receiver in receptions and yards. Your thoughts on big Isaiah Canyon?
Yeah, I liked him in high school. I thought he, played the same school, I think, as Dinkins, and he really fits in with his size. With us losing both Thomas and Colby, I think he gives you a guy that can play multiple positions, and he's done it when the band's playing. He's been really good, and we got good tape on him. And I know that that it's pretty obvious the kid wanted to come here once he had that chance. And maybe it's not obvious, but I mean, for a guy to leave Tech and come here, it's got to be in his blood that he wants to play for the Dogs. So I'm glad he's here, and hope he can go over there and get after Tech's butt.
It'd be fun to me, it's a win-win because you take him, he helps your team and deprives your arch rival of one of their best weapons. So, and that can't hurt. And the same thing.
We had a thread on the Dogman, Roddy, too, asking if we thought Georgia would take another receiver in the portal. And I mean, I don't think so. And I haven't seen as much chatter about that, but I think that speaks to the confidence that they have in CJ Wiley and Landon Roldan, London Humphreys, that whole crew.
Yeah.
Good point.
Here's the point. You bring in this Dowdle kid who was going to the kid from Kentucky at running back, but you also bring in Dandridge, who was committed to Kentucky, but a new staff. So he's basically like a portal guy because he was going there. And good Lord, we got 13 guys on scholarship out of 85 at wide receiver. And that's the way Kirby likes it, because he wants competition, but he also wants guys that can run routes against the secondary. I mean, that deep down, he might go a little bit above board on wide receivers, because that one year when we really had didn't have many wide receivers, it hurts your defense getting ready. And if you try to use your offense to do that, you get them beat up. So we're going to always have a lot of receivers. And I think it'd be hard for us to take another receiver at this point. Although if Cam Coleman came down and said, "Hey, I've changed my mind. Give me $3.5 million in a luxury apartment, and I'll come on over."
Yeah, if Trey Richardson gets scared and wants to come back, I'll take Trey Richardson in a heartbeat. That kid is that's something. We mentioned taking Isaiah Canyon away from Tech. Mars Williams, the edge defender, played at Auburn last year. Kind of rotational guy, but put up some pretty good numbers, Coach. Your thought on the 6'2", 260-pound edge guy?
Yeah, we talked about it when we had the watch-along show about how good those two edge guys were. The one kid's going to be in the top 10, 15 in the draft from there. It's coming out. And then, he's already declared for the draft. And then this kid, big, physical, got really long arms, can rush the passer, can play the block. I think coupled with the guys we got coming back with Johnson and, Gabe Harris, he will be a real big force. I understand he's got some issues that he's got to clean up a little bit with his health on one issue, but I don't know. I don't think it's very serious. But the main thing is this is another good guy that has played, and been very successful in our league against elite competition at a position where any way you look at it, I mean, the little old lady from Pasadena at the rest home can tell you that that's been an issue for us, getting edge pressure and setting the edge on the run. I mean, it's just been an issue for us, and we got to do better there. And hopefully these guys will be able to help us, help our defense from that standpoint.
I like that you pointed out that, he's done this in the SEC. He's played at that level. And I think I wasn't disappointed when the Heritage kid didn't play a whole lot, although he is from my hometown. I wanted Adrian Maddox to do well. I wanted Jaden Harris to do well. I wanted Zion Branch to do well at safety. But I think everybody was a little disappointed that Elo Madozie, it was such a good story. The kid comes from Army. Everyone has such high hopes for him. We start hearing great things about him in the summer, and it just didn't quite work out. But I just don't know that.
Great example there, though, Roddy, of the guy not being here for spring. I mean,
okay, is that what it was?
Our system is just set up that a lot of different ways you got to learn things, and it's not impossible, but which is pretty much true when you saw Juan Gaston and Glover, what they were able to do. But Juan was here in the spring, Glover wasn't. But I just feel like that, in all fairness, Mendoza, I think he'll be okay, but probably go somewhere else. He'll have a better shot because these other guys are ahead of him. And I think you'll see some of these guys that were on our roster this year continue to start. The younger guys start to bloom too. But that's been a point of contention for us the last couple of years. Just we were so blessed with guys at that position that now that it's just not near as I guess the statement we had that I would make is we had a lot of really good players last year. I'm talking about really good, but elite, great players like first round draft choices that Georgia has had. And you'll see this in the draft. We just didn't have them. And that makes a difference down the stretch.
Especially on defense. I want your thoughts on the two safeties that Georgia brought in. Khalil Barnes, guys from North Dakota High School, almost 1,800 snaps for Clemson, put up a lot of big numbers for him. Definitely a guy with a lot of experience. Your thoughts on Khalil Barnes, and then I'll ask you about Mr. Riddle.
Here's the thing about him. I mean, I was chapped that we didn't go as far as we needed to because I got to see the guy play in person. But, right. Our secondary coach, who's, the coach at Syracuse now, was really enamored by that Rhett kid. And so we took Rhett and we didn't recruit this kid as hard as, I don't know the factors or not, but we didn't recruit him enough to get him. Whether we offered him or recruited him, I don't know. But he's here now. He's been very productive. I think he's the kind of guy that can make the plays necessary to be a difference maker back there. He's proven it, even though Clint, you can say what you want to about the ACC, but, they got a team in a national championship this year and we don't as far as the league. But the reality is he's an upgrade for us. He'll be a good help. And then the other kid from ECU, we used to have a guy here named Jules Montanar who was worked for Kirby over at Alabama, and then he came over here as a coach that was more of a, at that time, just an analyst, couldn't do a lot on the field, but I got to know him. And then when he got the job at East Carolina, we stayed in contact. And then last year he went to Oklahoma State with Grantham, and I think he's probably going to go to UAB with Grantham now. But when we were starting to talk about this kid, as far as reading about him, which I don't know much about what's going on if I don't read your stuff because I don't keep up with it. I don't want to be talking to any coaches and then say something I shouldn't. But the reality was his name was starting to surface. So I just got in touch with Jules, and he said, look, this kid loves football. He said, I know what it takes to play at Georgia, and he can fit in. He said that's as good to me as gold, that a guy that's coached here, coached the kid, was involved in recruiting him, and he can say that undeniably, that he gives his stamp of approval, because there's no reason for him to say that the guy can do it unless he can, because he loses credibility. So I would say that's a really good plus for us. And you watch his tape, the guy's a hellion out there. I mean, he just makes things happen. So we've definitely improved our safety position with those two guys. I mean, I'm really excited about the way Dinkins has developed, and we got Bolden back. We got these corners. Guys like Kelly, we really hadn't seen a lot, but he really can play, just turning 18 years old. So our secondary is going to be really good.
Let me add this on Khalil Barnes too. When he commits to Georgia, he changes his social media profile pictures of a photo of him. He looks like he's 4 or 5 years old wearing Georgia gear. And I remember in that recruitment process talking to people that said his bedroom is decked out with Georgia stuff. This guy loves Georgia. He wanted to come to Georgia. And in an era where it's a whole lot of transaction, Coach, I remember talking with Javon Bullard and being like, that guy has dreamed of being here and playing in this moment his entire life. I think there's some similarity. I'm not saying playing style, but in terms of wanting to give everything you can because you want to be at UGA, I think that part is in Khalil Barnes. It's just if the talent's there, otherwise talent and health for him. And I think it can be.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things don't work out in life. And sometimes, it takes a little while to make things happen. And I think he's going to be even more appreciative of this, and we'll be appreciative of the fact that we were able to still make this dream come true for him. And it's just a win-win situation for us. And I'm excited about, because I felt like we, kind of missed out on him the first time. And but that was, coaches make decisions based on what they think, and they see these guys in camp and they make comparisons. And look, we had to turn down Ronnie Brown. I mean, I wanted Ronnie Brown bad. But we had Musa Smith coming, and Musa turned out pretty good, and so did the other kid from California. But he broke his leg, so you're going to see things like that happen. It just I've talked before about guys that it just hurt me to not be able to take them at a lot of places, and because they got such a background of wanting to play for you and all that, and it's a tough part of the profession. But you got to look at,
can't take them all,
make those hard decisions, and you got to look at your overall roster. I mean, we got some guys that want to come here in the portal that are dying to come here, but we just don't have the position. You can't take 2 or 3 in a position and overload that position and not have enough at another one. I mean, you saw what happened to us at safety this year.
Yeah. Going back to Jamarly real quick. This is why you watch the show, folks, to get that insider information where Coach Donnan knows the guy who knows the kid who's been at Georgia and tells you this kid can play at Georgia. And Coach calls him a hellion out there. I know a lot of people think, Eastern Carolina, ECU, that's not a big school. I'm like, this kid had 63 tackles his freshman year, 70 tackles last year, 3 interceptions both years. I don't care where you are. If you can rack up 133 tackles in 2 years, that means you know how to get guys to the damn ground. And I'm excited about that kid. Plus, he's got 2 years to go. So,
right. And here's the other thing about it, not just because I'm saying it, but there's guys that we have here that have told us about players before. Look, the guy's not going to fit in, Coach. He can't handle him. And everybody talks about the process here and the way we practice and all that. And everybody has different ways they do things, but Kirby's gone on record here, particularly down the stretch here, talking about, hey, if you don't want to come here and work and you want to go somewhere else, we'll be glad to play against you. You know what I mean? So that's the mentality that these coaches know you got to have to. I used to talk to Muschamp about guys coming in, and he was magnificent at evaluating players and saying things about guys that I felt like I could evaluate them too, but I wasn't looking at all the camp stuff and all that. But we've got a roster. I mean, we've got a board of which I'm not going to divulge what's on it, but the characteristics of what a corner should be, the dynamics of what his metrics should be, run, jump, height, all that, what you want in every position, and they're going to go by that. And if you start taking some exceptions, you're going to be an exception too. You're going to be getting your ass beat.
Yeah, Matthew Godwin told me about that. He wouldn't tell me what they were. That's a closely guarded secret over there, and I appreciate you not.
Nobody should know that. I mean, you wouldn't want to give the secret.
I mean, I'd love to know it, but I get it. And there's every once in a while, Matt would help us out because we'd help him out, but he never divulged anything like that. But he did point out to us, because I remember I think it was about the guy who played defensive end for Georgia recently, 2 years ago, white guy.
Chaz Chambliss. I'm like, hey, Chaz doesn't seem like your normal
guy. He says, well, he's exceptional. He's exceptional. And in order for us to make an exception to our height, weight, speed, length, all, that whole roster of stuff they want, for us to make an exception, he has to be exceptional. And damn if he wasn't. So I'm with the coach.
He had that explosiveness, though, in the weight room and the strength and the get after it. I mean, he just
exactly, and
he's proven that by being in the pros. So
I'm with you there. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to ask you about your mouthwatering guys. We'll ask about them in a minute, but there's some of the other guys we want to touch on real quick. Real quickly, go by Athens Ford when you get a chance. That is a fantastic place that you can get a new vehicle or a used vehicle or a work vehicle. So this is something new I see on their website here. They have a list of new, used, custom vehicles, specials, financing, all that. But now they have work trucks. And I've mentioned numerous times how they have a commercial fleet guys, and I met the guy out there, and he talks about all the commercial vehicles they buy, and they can also manage your fleet for you. But they have new work trucks, used work trucks, F-Series work trucks, transit work trucks. If you do a lot of commercial work, and that's actually how I met the folks at Athens Ford, was our longtime sponsor, Aaron Overhead Doors. They have to buy those trucks all the time. I used to load up garage door trucks with all the garage door parts, and my first job. I know how hard those drivers and those installers and service guys are on those trucks. And our buddy Ryan Lucia over at Aaron Overhead Doors, they tore through those trucks year after year. And every time he needed a new one, he went over to Athens Ford and he said, hey, you should reach out to Athens Ford, see if I sponsor your show. And he made the introductions, and they did. So I'm just saying that their reputation at Athens Ford was long established because of their work in the commercial truck division. So if you don't need commercial trucks, you just need one for yourself, swing by and grab one, and they will help you out. Also, I want to mention our friends over at Darden's Delights. Darden's Delights is a pie company founded by two Georgia grads, Betsy and David Glass. They listen to our show every week while they're making all these pies. So they have the tomato pies, a poppy seed pie, quiche Lorraine, the Darden Extra Dangerous Fudge Pie, the one that launched it all. You can get it with or without pecans. The Get in My Belly Gooey Pie, cheeseburger pie, key lime pie, but you got to pick that one up. And they ship to all 50 states. So if you want a pie and you're like, well, I'm listening to you guys in Washington, I'm listening to you in Dallas, dude, they're going to ship it to you. You can't miss it. And if you were an office manager, or you always have you work in an office where everyone celebrates birthdays, remember they have a birthday cake pie, and the candles included for someone to blow out. So it'd be perfect for celebrating birthday parties in your office. Do that while you go ahead and put that into your rotation.
You want to fit in one quick one from Atlanta Dental Implants as well?
Yeah, let's talk about them real quick, or run their ad if you would.
Prior to having the dental implants, I was in pain and there were like loose teeth, and it's kind of a little bit of a complex talking or smiling. Having periodontal disease and trying to find a good place like this place to get it done is very difficult. I'm looking at the website and I'm like, wow, they've got their prices like right there. Top arch replacement, bottom arch replacement, whatever you need. Highly recommend ATL Dental Implants. I'm learning to smile again, let's just say.
Coach, I want to get your thoughts on the sheer number of guys in the portal for like Auburn. And it's like 34 last I checked. That's a team that Georgia's going to have to play. You mentioned, I didn't realize as Ohio State had lost as many. Georgia's done a great job of retention. I think there's only 13 in the portal. Only Ole Miss is fewer. But
Alabama's got them running out of there too. So we'll see how that works. But as far as Auburn, this guy's hanging his hat with the South Florida transfers. I mean, I think they changed their name from Auburn Tigers to the South Florida, whatever they are.
I mean, it seems like that's happening around the country. I mean, Indiana, a lot of its roster is built from what Signet did with James Madison. Oklahoma State's doing the same thing with North Texas. Florida's kind of doing it with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I just think, from my standpoint, I'm sure the guy's a good coach, but the level that they won at South Florida was better than the previous coach, but they really didn't, beat a lot of teams in the league that were elite. And it's been proven that offense can't win in this league consistently. I mean, you saw it at Tennessee. You saw it everywhere. It's just not the kind of you got to train your defense to stop the run. You got to change, run the ball. He's bringing in his quarterback. We'll see. But, any way you look at it, they didn't even talk to the guy to 24 hours before they hired him. So, they were after Summerall, and I'm sure the guy will be good. But I worry about a lot of things. But maybe Auburn at this point is not as high on the structure for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I'm not shocked that Mississippi State had 34 guys, but LSU, with the new coach that they went out and bought, they've had 32 guys go in the portal.
Yeah, they're getting ready to bring in some more, too. Getting the quarterback from Arizona, Sam Levitt will be okay, but that they got a plan. That's just the way it worked for them at Ole Miss, and they'll continue to – it's going to be interesting to see what Ole Miss is going to be able to do with that appeal on their quarterback, and it's going to be in the state of Mississippi, so we'll see what happens. But
and Tennessee's doing the appeal with Joey Aguilar at the same time, right? Like he wants to try to come back, and then Max Johnson transfers to Georgia Southern and will be 25 when that season starts.
Well, I'm happy for Max. He deserves something. He didn't get much of a shot at North Carolina. And there's a lot of quarterbacks around the country, but I guarantee you he can help a lot of teams. He's a solid quarterback, even better kid.
Yeah, I thought that everybody would be excited about Lane Kiffin coming into LSU. The 32 transfers, I know they'll be fine, but it just kind of.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You got guys that were recruited by other people, and you got him in there, and so some of them are probably leaving because he said, "Look, you're not in our plans," and then some of them are thinking, "Hey, I don't want to play for this guy," or aren't fired up about it, and they got chances other places. So the thing that happens if you have a change of coaches, other teams have a tendency to maybe hit that area a little bit more, thinking you can get them out of there. You know what I mean? So they're probably getting more looks than some teams because they got a new coach. We always looked at teams that were getting fired when we were coaching just to recruit that area a little more, because all of a sudden these guys that are committed aren't going to be going there maybe. So we always picked up some guys like that.
Gotcha.
Coach, who are the high-impact guys? Cam Coleman, Texas, Brendan Sorsby, Texas Tech. Like, who are these high-impact transfers that you think may be kind of carrying the storyline of college football next year?
Well, you never know. Certainly I would think Coleman will help any team. He's just an impact receiver. And all of a sudden they picked up Hollywood Smothers too, NC State running back. So Texas offense looks pretty solid, but they got to protect. You look at last year, he's running for his life the whole season. And even in the bowl game, he was scrambling like crazy. So, I'm not worried about Texas because we don't play them, but maybe play them later. But I haven't really studied the transfer portal nearly as much as Roddy and Dash and everybody else because I'd like to know more about it after Friday because that's when the final the final countdown. I mean, that'll be it. And but I feel
No,
good.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you about because you kind of mentioned that. And like I said, we saw that tackle go into the portal last night. The bidding's already, I mean, there's a big Florida booster who came out and said his camp already, set the bidding at 2.5 million. And it does feel like an auction. It feels like a bidding war for some of these kids. Definitely felt that way for Cam Coleman. And you're right when they miss out on someone because I saw someone they reached out to me today and said, "Hey, look, if Georgia didn't, Monroe Freeling goes on to the NFL, you obviously had a plan to pay him. Do you jump in on that tackle from Colorado?" I'm like, you might have needed that money to retain Frazier and other guys. So
Yeah, I just can't. I don't see anybody at Georgia making that kind of 2.5 million. Maybe assistant coach or something, but at this point, I mean, all this stuff is relative, and I'm certainly not the person to ask about how much each guy's making, but you got to satisfy 2 points. One, what your needs of your team are going to be, and also roster management as far as being fair to everybody. And what are you going to do? I mean, pay somebody that much more that haven't even played here? I feel good about our O line. I mean, we got some really good O linemen. It'd be nice, and of course, Ernest Green coming back would be great. Hopefully, he's going to announce. But we got some really good young linemen coming up that we've seen, and we got a couple that I'll mention as far as mouthwatering.
Well, I was leading with that question because mainly I worry when a team goes in on Cam Coleman and misses. Then they're like, okay, well, we still had this war chest. We had this money that we could have used to get Cam Coleman. He winds up somewhere else. Let's go after Chris Cole. Let's go after Justin Williams. Let's go after Dontrell Glover, Juan Gaston, something like that. So I'm with you now. I think a lot of people will be on the edge until Friday at midnight.
That could happen. But you got to think that being a starter means a lot to a kid here, though. I mean, I can't see starters leaving. Maybe backups, but that's I'm not the voice of what we're doing on things like that. But I did feel like I could give you some info about these young guys we got coming in with what I knew.
All right. Right before we get to that last question that I have for you, besides your mouthwatering guys, with Monroe Freeling going, who lines up at the tackles for Georgia this year?
Well, I think you got two. If Ernest is back, you got to play him over there just because he's had experience there. But you give Juan some practice in the spring and see which one looks the best, and then the other one play the other tackle, and then you got some other guys that can come along too. So I feel good about that going into to lose a starter like that, to have two guys like that at that situation is pretty good, though, in my opinion.
Okay. Let's sneak in some questions from UGAsports.com, and then we'll wrap with mouth-watering players from Coach. And UGA Alum 95 was wanting to talk about offensive line after Monroe Freeling, so you hit that. This question from Simplicity on the Dog Vent. Coach, how on earth can Kirby stay sane after having to re-recruit his own players? What a disaster NIL and the portal are in this era. Thanks, Coach.
It's just a reality pill. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, and you got to adjust. That's life. I mean, you got to adjust to what's going on. People have to do it in business. You have to do it in coaching, and he's done a tremendous job at that. And I feel like it's a learning process for all of us, not necessarily me, but anybody involved. It's just fine line between keeping your roster and bringing guys in and recruiting, and like they're getting ready to go on the road here next week, and they'll be looking at juniors, and they'll be going around, and Kirby will be in the helicopter, and they'll be going hell bent for election for 2 weeks. But that's where you make your money as far as getting paid as a coach, is going out there and developing those relationships. And it's just incredible what the pace has to be, but you're not doing anything that you hadn't done before, and he's definitely capable of it.
From N. Kirby We Trust, with Brett Thorson gone, what's Georgia looking at with the punting situation moving forward? Georgia's been blessed with Thorson for the last few years and will probably miss him more than any other player besides Branch next season. He was just game-changing with how few returns Georgia had against them.
Best punter I've ever seen as far as just making things happen and clutch and no returns. I feel like this kid from South Dakota or wherever he's from, I've watched him kick. He's definitely – I used to punt. He's got the ball bounces off his foot good, and
Drew Miller, is that right?
He gets it off and with good, timing and all. And we'll have a new snapper too. But he's been around here for a couple of years. He'll be good. So his dad played for me, so I think we'll be okay there. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of drop off. We can't help but be, but it's a good point. I think losing a punter of that magnitude is hard to, but also glad to see Peyton's coming back. He's a great kicker. He doesn't have the elite electric leg for just really long things, but boy, his accuracy is unbelievable. So I think that's a big plus for us.
And then this question from N. Kirby We Trust it leads right into mouth-watering players from you coaches. What makes you most excited about where Georgia is right now? What worries you the most? What's the key to 2026?
I mean, you going to send me one of those cakes? I mean, that's a lot of stuff there, man.
I thought that you could probably encapsulate most of that with what you're most excited about, which is
I'm excited about the retention. I started out the fact that we haven't lost. Certainly some good kids have left, but we hasn't had near the guys leave that we did last year. And then as far as excited about just the fact, I want to see how Ryan comes along at quarterback, and also the other kid, I thought he did a good job. And then as far as schedule, we got a chance to get things rolling there pretty quick. And you always feel like, and I told you guys off air, which I'll say, I feel like we kind of stole this year as far as being right up there fighting for it, because I never thought that we'd be where we were with the losses we had from the previous year, to the portal, to the pros, and the injuries we had. I thought we overachieved. We kind of underachieved in that last game because we had some chances, but for the most part, back-to-back SEC, pretty dang strong.
All right, Coach. Give me your mouth-watering players. But there's some freshmen. I saw 22 guys move in the other day.
I haven't got to see the guys that I think we had the new guys, but we had some here early. But just from an outside perspective, I just feel like Valden Stone is just what you're looking for. Also, P.J. Dean, another guy that just you can't get enough of those big guys. You know what I mean? I just feel like both of them got what we need. And then a guy that people hadn't talked about that, mark my word, Zyke Helton. You watch this guy. This guy right here is quick, he's strong, and he's a dog. You watch that guy. So he's gonna be good for us. And then we got some other guys. I think pronounce Oga. Wait, pronounce his name.
Ogboko. Kenny Ogboko.
His brother impressed me too on the hoof. I watched some tape on him, and I watched him on the mat get up and the block. One thing I always like to look at a player is how long you're on the ground, and when you get up, how can you get up? Do you struggle to get up, or do you leap up? And this guy can accelerate up, which is another good indicator for the old coach, almost 81. If a guy can't get his ass off the ground easy, he ain't going to be able to play for you. So I like that, and I like guys that aren't on the ground much. So that's it for me. But I do have a couple jokes for you because I missed last week. So this guy from Jehovah's Witnesses was going door to door, and he went to this guy's, and he knocked on the door, and he said, "I'd like to talk to you." So the guy said, "Come on in." And he said, "Would you like some cake and coffee?" He said, "Sure, I'll take some." So he gave it to him. And So after he finished, the guy said to him, said, "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" He said, "I don't know. I've never have gotten this far before." So then the other one, I thought that's one of my all-time jokes. So one of the other ones was this professor on campus wanted to talk to the kids about being succinct the way they wrote, and said, "I'm going to give you 3 topics, and I want you to write as quickly and as efficiently as you can." And only one person made an A+. The 3 topics were religion, sexuality, and mystery. And so this girl wrote, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant. Who did it?"
Oh my God.
So here we go.
All right. That's about as succinct as it'll ever get.
Now the week has begun.
All right, folks. You got the mouth-watering players. You got the jokes.
Were you ready for Zyke?
Dude, Coach. Here's my thing about Zyke. When we met him, he basically told us, "I'm committed to Alabama. I'm going to drop that. I want to play for Georgia." We're like, "You want to go on the record and say that?" He goes, "Yeah." So he did. And we saw him, and I'm like, what position do you want to play? He goes, "I'm going to be an offensive lineman." Coach, he was like 240 pounds, and he'd been to like 310. He lost so much weight with the Crohn's disease and the other thing. He's
290.
I'm just saying it eviscerated him. He fought back, and if you watched him in that state championship game, somebody mentioned last night on our show that he should play defensive line. He is just an absolute motor. You'll love this kid. He's got the personality of like a Jalen Walker and the drive of a David Pollock. I mean, I'm a big fan of Zyke and have been for like, Zyke Helton for like 3 years, just knowing what he went through.
I'm glad to hear that too. I'm just basing it on tape and everything else. And
monster.
There's plenty of other guys. I haven't really analyzed them at this point, but just felt like I'd give you put a little bit of lollipops in your mouth and then take it out.
Hey, Coach, Indiana or Miami national championship?
I just feel like Indiana's just on a mission. I mean, Cinderella going to keep that shoe on one more time. Here's a team that doesn't beat itself. Miami playing at home, tough. We had to play them in '87. That's a tough environment for us, but I'm going with Indiana Hoosiers.
And one final schedule thing, because Coach mentioned the portal closes on Friday, so there's a lot of action that can happen between now and then. At Georgia, that's also the final day of drop ad for classes if someone is going to be enrolled. That's not to say someone probably couldn't do what they needed to do to wedge someone in, but you'd have to get a lot more approvals if it happens after Friday.
Yeah, you'd have to get Dr. Moorhead, who's on her side. He would help us.
There you go. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for this week's show. We will see you next week. Y'all take care.